Hey everyone, welcome to this weekly Sidereal Astrology forecast for the week of November 20th through the 26th of 2023. Alright, so quite a bit going on here this week. We are now in the first quarter moon of the lunar cycle, which means about a week ago we had that new beginning to the lunar month. And so coming into the week, a great time to challenge ourselves, integrate, move things forward as what will be culminating, what will be harvesting early next week when we come to the full moon of the cycle. But we do have quite a few sign changes. We have Mercury going into healing Ophiuchus early on Monday. We've got the sun going into deep Scorpio around Friday, and then towards the end of the week on Sunday, Mars is going into that deep Scorpio as well. So a shift from some of that Libra energy around balance and into the deeper dimensions of things, more of that increasing as we go through the week. And in terms of the aspects, we do have some aspects with Chiron, which could emphasize some healing. But all in all, the main aspects are squares to Saturn. We have that Sun and Mars, who are close to each other in the sky at the moment, both squaring Saturn this week. Saturn is all about patience and perseverance. And so how can we incorporate some of that stuff in healthy and constructive ways? All right, so let's go and take a look at all of this here in more detail when we return. Alrighty, so here is the sky for this week. We're going to look at this for each day of the week, starting first with Monday, November 20th. And as you can see here, we are using the visible sky, which is very different from mainstream astrology. You will notice that the sign placements are different. And so if, for example, you're hearing me say that the sun is entering Scorpio, but maybe you already thought it had already entered earlier this year, recently, then definitely check out the link down below for more information, because again, the sign placements do change because we are using the visible constellations in the sky, which is very different from mainstream astrology. All right, so let's go ahead and do a bit of a recap here in terms of where everything is coming into the week. Again, we are going to be in the first quarter moon, which is where the sun and moon do square each other. It means that a week ago we had that new moon, and that was in Libra. And so the focus coming into the week is still in Libra. This whole month really is, but especially still this week, as the sun and Mars will be finishing here. And so it's great to view life through the lens of balance. How can we bring more balance to our lives? And also, how can we incorporate more balance in our interpersonal relationships as well? How we're relating with others, right? This is Libra, bringing things back in the middle of the scales. So great for that focus, but again, we will notice some sign changes with that. But the first quarter is all about implementation of any new perspectives from the new moon a week ago. So good early part of the week to challenge ourselves. It's the integration point. It's the part of the lunar month about applying and integrating and challenging ourselves to implement these new perspectives, and maybe quite literally these new things that we've been keen on developing since about a week ago. All right, and then Venus is still doing her thing in Virgo. She'll still be there for a while as well. It's about valuing the more improvement and refinement side of life. And since Venus does rule Libra, it is great to perhaps, again, bring balance to our lives and relate with others in a way that is improvement oriented, right? But connecting to life in this way and enjoying things in that improvement oriented nature of Virgo is fantastic. Mercury still in the deep part of the sky in Scorpio and Ophiuchus coming into this week. So let's go ahead and start here. So Monday, Mercury does start to shift into closer towards Ophiuchus. Now, Scorpio and Ophiuchus do share the same part of the sky, as you can see here, but where Scorpio comes up on the ecliptic is the beginning of this part of the sky, and then where Ophiuchus comes down on the ecliptic is the later half of this part of the sky. So Mercury is starting to get to the later half of this very deep 8th house, empowering part of the sky. And so now starting to get to the Ophiuchus side means more probably on the healing side of things. So Mercury, the planet of our minds, is great to perhaps start to think about, maybe even learn, and maybe even share and exchange with others in the form of communication or sharing ideas or again, other forms of communication, maybe like writing and stuff, but using some of that cerebral and communicative energy towards working with, understanding, and synergizing with the healer energies of life. So this can be physical healing, which is great for, of course, health and things like this, but also psychological, spiritual, and emotional. So great to be thinking this way, utilizing this energy in terms of our minds, and perhaps even communicating with others in a way that is not only deep, where it's likely been with Mercury and Scorpio, but with the added emphasis of the opportunity to heal. And what we find with Ophiuchus is that that opportunity to heal, you might say, comes through acceptance of the deeper dimensions, working with the deeper dimensions, not only being aware of them, but working with them, and what you might call redeeming these hidden or exiled parts of life. So anyways, more of that Ophiuchus energy with Mercury here in that day-to-day sphere. Now on Monday, we do have some minor sextiles between that Sun and Mars conjunction. Again, the Sun and Mars are still very close to each other here in the sky. And they're going to be sextiling deep Pluto. So Pluto does rule that Scorpio Ophiuchus energy. And so it's nice to see that there's some synergy here with the Sun and Mars with that deeper energy. And so maybe it could be just a little bit easier to express ourselves deeply this early part of the week with the Sun. Maybe taking some empowering actions with the Mars side of it. So expressing, asserting, initiating, basically the yang elements of life, supporting the more deeper and empowering dimensions of things. So quite minor with the sextiles, just opportunities, but it is nice to see that. And as I said as well, we do have some aspects with Chiron this week. Early in the week, Mercury will be in good harmony to Chiron. Chiron, you could say, is the ruler of that healer Ophiuchus energy. And so, again, nice support, even though it is perhaps arguably a more challenging energy to work with. In terms of healing, there is definitely the support to do so with these aspects this week. Now, coming up into the week on Monday, the moon will be in Aquarius. In fact, Monday and Tuesday, the moon will be in Aquarius. So as a backdrop to a lot of this, I think it's really good to be connecting more with our visionary side. Aquarius is all about the side of ourselves that sees into the future, is very progressive and innovative, and perhaps even wants to contribute to that future, whether it's personal, our own personal aspirations, or collectively as well, which can make it usually a good time for being a part of something greater, whether it's even as simple as just connecting with our friends or our communities or things like that. So that's definitely going on as well. Once we do shift into the Wednesday time period, the energy does shift a little bit. We will be coming off of that first quarter moon. So noticing a little bit more support, more momentum, more wind in our sails as we approach the full moon Monday of next week. But the moon will go into Pisces for this whole middle part of the week from Wednesday through Friday. Now, Pisces is the more receptive yin energies of life. So it's good this middle part to perhaps be a bit receptive to life, connect to our feelings, our soul, what's important to us on a soul level, swim with the currents of life, wherever those currents are taking us, letting go of what's outside of our control in life. So this more receptive approach, fantastic, great way of working with the middle part. Now, along with that, Venus will be opposite Chiron, minor, but it is nice to see that, again, there's some healing opportunities here. This could be specifically with the relating side of things, or what we could say with the Libra side of things. So when we talk about this whole lunar month being about balance and bringing things back into balance, perhaps some of the healing can be facilitating that. So again, physical, mental, emotional, spiritual healing, whatever it is, being aware of the deeper dimensions of life, accepting them, working with them, redeeming them as the parts of ourselves, as we are the full spectrum of life. And this can be very healing and rejuvenating, not only for ourselves, but with Venus, oftentimes this can come through our one-on-one connections as well. Now, once we do get to that Thursday time, the sun will start to square up to Saturn. And Saturn is that planet of patience and responsibility. And so in the square, it can be a bit more difficult to do that. But again, it's not that anything is happening to us. It's that we want to challenge ourselves to integrate this. And so I would say this whole middle to later part of the week, because again, Mars will then square Saturn over the weekend. It is great to challenge ourselves to really implement a bit of that patience and perseverance. Seeing the long road is what Saturn's all about, and seeing how we can perhaps sacrifice some short-term gains for more long-term gains, right? It's about building these qualities of maturity and strength of character, discipline, things like this. And so however you want to channel that into your life is fantastic. That could be, of course, productively, as Saturn often is the natural ruler of things like career and achievements, but it can be very personal as well. Maybe incorporating some of that responsibility around the home, or maybe with some of these relationships, or maybe with some side projects or creative energy even. Any of that where we're intentionally working with that grounding principle of Saturn, I think is fantastic this week, and this can actually be a very constructive time for those things that we put that energy into. Now, once we do get to that Friday time, the sun will start to shift into that deeper Scorpio, and that'll be followed by Mars late Sunday. And so as we get into the weekend, there is that, again, more of an emphasis on the deeper, and this is coming out of the Libra. So even though this lunar cycle started in Libra, and we're still going to be having themes around, again, this balance, things are definitely shifting into, okay, how can we not only see both sides of the scales, but also underneath that, what really matters under the surface? Because Libra, being an air sign, can be a bit on the surface. And so now with Scorpio, the water sign of emotion, we can get down under the surface of some of these more cerebral things, like what's right and fair and what's balanced or not, right? So getting into the more deeper emotional side of things towards the weekend into next week, focusing, viewing on life through the lens of what is going on under the surface, shining that light of the sun, illuminating that. Great time for things like research, personal transformation, and of course still healing, which will be more the case once the sun goes into Ophiuchus. But Scorpio, of course, helps us see the deeper dimensions, which a lot can come from that. Okay, so that's the shift into Scorpio over the weekend. And then we have that Mars square Saturn, so some of that patience and perseverance there, with particularly where we're taking action. Okay, Mars is the things we want now, but Saturn is the things that, again, are for later. And so we could feel maybe a little bit of a 2 steps forward, 2 steps back over the weekend, but it can be very constructive, again, to build foundations and to remember that whatever we can be taking our action towards, it is great to take that action in a way that is for maybe not immediate gratification, but the long term. And this can be a very, again, constructive weekend for all things that are implemented in that way. All right, but merely the awareness of the energy can help balance that out, which is great. All right, and then the moon will shift into Aries Saturday and Sunday. And so that places a little bit more of an emphasis on taking some initiative in our lives. And this is starting to come up to the full moon, which will be, again, Monday of next week, and that'll be in Taurus. And so definitely noticing the momentum building throughout the week. By the weekend, we are almost at the apex or the harvest of the lunar month. And here in Aries, how can we maybe use some of that initiating, assertive, fiery energy that Aries does give us? All right, and then again, Mars starting to shift into Scorpio there Sunday. All right, everyone, so that is the week in a nutshell. It does sound like there's a lot going on astrologically, but really I would condense this into the idea that we are building momentum this week in the lunar month. It's a momentum building week. We've got the shift into the deeper dimensions. We've got some good energy to challenge ourselves with Saturn. I would say that those are the most important components. So building momentum, being aware and working with the deeper dimensions of life, and implementing some of that patience, perseverance, and discipline. All right, so everyone have a fantastic week. Thank you so much for watching. Be sure to click the like button if you're watching this on YouTube. And if you haven't yet gotten your True Sidereal report, there's a link down below for that. But again, have a great one, and I'll see you all next time for the next astrology forecast. Take care.